No, we're not. We're on chapter 27.
Yeah, 27, 26. It's the same thing. Hello, and welcome everybody to the Greater Meaning Podcast. This is your co-host Nathan, along with our co-host Andrew.
Hello.
And Joshua.
Can I stop being a co-host? Can I just be a glorified featured guest every single time?
Why?
Joshua is at the workshopping.
You look like you're about to host an episode of Home Improvement.
He has a pipe bender and
this morning,
and he has a crossbow.
This morning, I was
for some reason. Do you go hunting after putting up some electrical fixtures?
I live a very, very weird lifestyle. Like, just for example, this morning I was like, you know what? I need a tractor. So I found someone on Facebook Market, and I went and this morning
need a tractor.
Yeah, I needed a tractor.
I've never woken up and been like, man, I need a tractor today. I feel you though. I can understand. Sorry.
I was up at 4 in the morning, and I literally told him now because it's grass cutting season, and whenever you see a good deal, it goes fast. So I was like, you know what? If I don't jump on this now, I won't be able to get it later. So I decided, hey, I can, like, the guy answered back right away, and I said, yeah, I can come now. But the problem is that it was an hour away. And obviously I had work starting. And it just still kind of seemed sketchy. So we agreed on it. I go over there. And it was a weird, because his English, I have nothing against people with broken English, but the English was super broken. And it just seemed kind of like a sketchy scenario. So obviously I bring my little pew-pew with me. And hey,
I forgot why we're on the story.
All right, let's get started.
I get over there. Wait, I gotta finish my story.
Okay, finish your tractor story, Josh, please. Finish, please.
I get over there.
Worst opening we've ever had.
There. He's selling it to me for $600. I get over there. Obviously, when you go to the ATM, how much can you pull out? $500. And the bank doesn't open till 9. So we're over there. I'm looking at him at 6 a.m. I'm strapped out of my mind over there because it's like we meet in a Walmart parking lot at 6 a.m. and he's got the tractor. He's pulling it down. I look at him. I say, looks good. Give him $500.
He looks at it. Look up. Stop looking down.
Okay, listen. I'm also looking at the laptop to make sure I'm producing as we're recording. So stop pointing where you can see you.
I had to go in.
Can you tell that we just started trying to record this on video?
I tried to give him.
We're terrible.
I gotta finish my story. I really. It's too deep. Too deep. Too far.
Listening.
Too deep and too far. Once I gave him the 500, he looks at it. He's like, "You only got 500. I need 100 more." I told him the banks aren't open right now, and I can't take any more from the ATM because my card won't let me take any more out. So I'm with my big van. So I basically open my van and say, "Hey, go shopping for whatever tool you think is $100. Just go shopping." He looks at me and says, "I don't do construction. I don't need tools." So I tell him, I don't know what to do.
I need your cash. That's why I did this.
Well, then I tell him, well, can I Zelle you? Can I Apple Pay you? He says, I don't do technology like that. So I only want cash. I drove here an hour away. For me, it's 5 a.m. because it's an hour time difference. So it's 6 o'clock for him. So I decide to go inside Walmart, do the cash back. I buy a Red Bull, and then I do a $100 cash back. And that was my tractor story today. Yeah.
Okay.
Why did we tell this story?
I don't know.
I didn't mean to.
I know
it just
that I'm pretending like Josh is right there.
It happened. Okay. The story started and then I couldn't finish and I was too deep. And I know people probably wanted to hear the end.
Story.
I don't know.
A generic.
Welcome to the Greater Meaning.
Facebook Market purchase.
I woke up and the bank wouldn't let me withdraw, so I had to buy a Red Bull.
I need a tractor. Jeez.
Like, oh man, that was not enticing at all.
In the previous episode,
I witnessed the homicide. I didn't even bring that up. All right, let's go.
In the previous, no, you
I
ruined
it. Hear this. I don't need.
Listen,
you don't just get to ask. You don't just get to
Yes.
say I witnessed the homicide and
You
not say
ruined
anything.
the opportunity for the space of the homicide story with your tractor story. Your tractor
Okay, for anybody
story
who
has
wants to hear the
consequences.
homicide story, email Greater Meaning Podcast, and Nathan will personally email you the story.
No. We get enough people to email on it, then we're definitely gonna.
There is
tell
no
it.
homicide story. I
Oh.
just said that.
Oh gosh.
Now
Let's
it's
go.
a lie.
In the previous episode, we covered the story of Balaam and Balak and how Balak tried to hire Balaam.
Two different names.
It's a tongue twister together, all right?
It's not at all.
A renowned seer and diviner to curse the people of Israel. God did not allow this to happen and intervened in several miraculous ways, even opening the mouth of a donkey and putting prophetic words of blessing into the mouth of Balaam, the wicked prophet for hire. The Moabite king was not deterred, and through the wicked counsel of Balaam, sent Moabite prostitutes and priestesses of Baal to tempt and seduce the people of Israel, thereby defiling them. One couple even nearly defiled the tabernacle of meeting by trying to go up and have relations inside the Holy of Holies. Fortunately, Phinehas, Aaron's grandson, was filled with zeal and struck the two with a javelin, impaling them both in the sight of the entire congregation and camp. Now we return to Israel and continue through the final chapters of the book of Numbers as they prepare to enter into the promised land. We find...
You go ahead.
No. We find. Listen, I write these intros to remind
I don't
us.
think that your English teacher in literature ever taught you about run-on sentences.
There's
You're-
periods.
you're
There
like,
are
dude.
periods.
You gotta short these summaries up from the. We can't have half an episode just summarizing.
Listen,
the
if
previous
we can
episode.
have 5 minutes of a tractor story off of Facebook
you
Marketplace,
gotta.
I spoke for 30 seconds.
You gotta tighten it up or read faster.
Okay,
I
there
think
was a donkey.
the
that
wicked
talked,
choice.
Some guy.
Was there a need to use the word wicked? Like, I mean,
What do you mean?
The wicked prophet for hire.
yeah,
I keep forgetting.
wouldn't
Josh
call
is
him-
there, not there.
I wouldn't
We're gonna
call
put,
him
like, a fake
necessarily
there.
wicked prophet for hire because
Picture of Josh's face.
that's such a
Sorry,
gray
stop
area.
looking
I would
at me.
just
Look
say the
up there.
prophet for hire. Who's a prophet for hire?
He was a prophet for. He was a prophet and a seer for hire.
Balaam
And
was.
Balaam was, and Balak, the king, who was scared because they had destroyed the other kings around that area, hired Balaam to curse them, and this is the, he didn't because God didn't allow him to, and then even kind of intervened with showing him the truth, and even to the point where he had a prophetic messianic prophecy. But later we see that Balaam actually convinced them to send a bunch of prostitutes in, and now there was a problem with that. It was bad. So we're back.
That was a debate for then. That was a debate
I can't
for
stop
then.
thinking about the tractor. I don't even. What color was the tractor? Did you buy it? I forgot.
Yeah.
Was it one of those green John Deere ones?
No. It wasn't a green John Deere. I got a Troy built.
No.
I have a Troy built motor or a lawnmower.
Yeah,
Anyway,
That's
so
very interesting.
now we
guys.
enter into Numbers chapter 27. Numbers chapter 27, we are introduced into a couple characters that are going to kind of carry through the rest of the book of Numbers, ending with chapter 36. We're introduced to the daughters of Zelophehad.
We're finishing Numbers in this episode.
Yeah, they're concluding, like I said in my, very drawn out.
It's numbers, but it's not really about
This is the
numbers.
conclusion.
Well, the book is a census. It's the book of a censuses of the armies of Israel. You have the first initial census, remember, that we took in the beginning of the book, and then now towards the end in Numbers 26.
It's true. I just feel like as
census.
Moses was doing the whole census thing about like the numbers, then he's just remembering these stories that he's like, I should probably put that in there. He's writing
No,
it
these are the
down.
things that happened, like alongside. I mean, that happened in order. We're following chronologically.
Well, yes,
So Nathan,
we are.
if you would start,
We're reading.
I don't think so. Actually,
I could read something if you want.
I didn't want you to read 11 verses of this. This is kind of a lot.
What the sisters?
So the daughters of Zelophehad.
They come up. They want some inheritance because their parents got murked. Their parents got murked.
So their parents were part of
but they weren't part of the rebellion.
No, they. So what happened is they Their father had no sons. They were
Stop
just
talking about I didn't read it. Yeah, I read it.
there wasn't. They fell in the wilderness. They were part of the generation that was not to cross into the promised land. They were the wicked generation. And remember that in the order of the inheritance would fall towards the son or the next son or a boy, a male heir.
They didn't have any male heirs.
Yeah, traditionally in the ancient Near Eastern world and even other cultures in that time, it was very common that there would not be. Women would not have as many rights. They wouldn't be the first, even if a girl was born first. If a boy was born second, all the inheritance would go to the first son.
Goes to the boy.
So you have to think about this scene. You have the daughters of Zelophehad. They're without brothers and husbands, and nobody there can inherit their portion that will come from the promised land.
Why are they without husbands?
I don't know. They were probably
Nobody married them?
they died.
Did they?
Maybe they just
From
weren't
the families of
most attractive.
Manasseh, sons of Joseph. These were the names of the daughter: Malal, Noah, Hogla, Milcah.
That's
and
probably why
Tirzah.
nobody married them.
Nobody wants to marry a hogla.
Is your name Hogla?
What's cool about these girls?
My name is Milka.
Milka
I
does
know
sound
Milka.
delicious.
She's a wonderful lady.
One of them's Noah, so now we're confused.
That's just weird. Or
Well,
probably had a lot of facial hair.
So the problem, not the problem. The cool thing about these girls is that there's a lot of like minor characters. Like you even have like the woman with the issue of blood mentioned in the Bible. She's not mentioned by name. There are other minor character women. These girls are mentioned 5 times in the Old Testament. 4 of those times, every single one of the daughters' names, it doesn't just say the daughters of Zelophehad. It says, Malal, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. They imagine the bravery it would have taken for them. It says that they came before the tent, the tabernacle meeting, before Eleazar and before Moses, because Aaron, was dead by now. And then you remember that everything had been delegated according to the, instruction of Jethro. There was like levels of complaints. So they had effectively escalated their problem all the way to the very top so that it could be heard by Moses. And what's awesome is that when their case is brought before Moses, the Lord actually speaks to Moses and says that what the daughters of Zelophehad say, they say what is right. Why shouldn't they inherit the land if their father had no sons? And what they do is essentially God instructs and pretty much passes along a line of succession in the event that there is no male heir when somebody dies. And what he says, if there's no brothers, you shall give the inheritance to the if he has no sons, it shall pass to the daughter. If he has no daughter, then it shall pass the inheritance to his brothers. If being the dad, his brother, so the uncle. If he has no brothers, then you shall give the inheritance to his father's brothers, so his uncles. And if the father has no brothers, then you should give his inheritance to the closest relative to him in the family, and they shall possess it.
Has this situation never happened before?
Well,
is this the first time?
So this is remember in the census, and God actually begins in, I think it's Numbers 25, he begins to speak about how when you enter into the land of Canaan, this is how you're going to divide up the land. And they do another census and they're like, okay, these are the tribes of Reuben, these are the tribes of Gad, these are the tribes
I get it. Yeah.
And they're going to inherit this. So this is where the beginning of the conversation started. Like, hey, we're preparing to enter. We're going to divvy up the land. And this is how you're going to inherit this portion according to your size and according to your means. So the question comes up. Yes, but
it works.
What about the girls?
The question comes up. Yes, the question comes up by the girls. Not. In other words, not God giving clear instruction on it beforehand for it never to be brought up, but it is brought up. And then God, it's like,
you're right.
God's basically saying, yeah, you know what? That actually makes some logical.
What Josh was trying to say.
That's making logical sense.
There's a lot of gray area minutia in these type of things that happen. And I'm sure that that's a cop out saying God knew that the daughters of Zelophehad would come up and actually, they would say this.
It's funny that anything but a woman can inherit stuff.
That's not true. So what's the thing about this, and this is like women's rights in the ancient world. Yes, initially based on culture,
did Eve piss God off?
Pretty bad, but that's kind of part of it. Is that you will be underneath your husband, and you will be underneath the man. Essentially, you will serve him, and forever. That's part. Remember, that was like a part of the curse that people don't talk about. They talk about just that it's going to be the pain in childbirth. But
so Do women matter?
Of course, this is what got when the issue was brought before Moses, which obviously them being men probably didn't think about.
Andrew,
they're just like, yeah,
say
obviously.
how you really feel.
What's that noise?
I keep moving the chairs. So sorry.
He's
actually
guilty.
says and sides with the women and says they're right. This is what it's going to be. And from now on, if a man has no sons, his inheritance will pass on to the daughters, but not like, her.
Somebody must have really
sister or
been
aunts.
trying to get the money. Somebody was trying to get that inheritance for
Well, the
all
daughters
those
of-
sisters, all the sisters to be like, they go in front of Moses, an audience in front of Moses, an audience in front of Moses
Morbius.
must have not been the easiest thing to acquire at that time.
No, so imagine how, like, if they're unmarried women, now they're fatherless.
That's like
they're orphans
the
with
Supreme
no
Court.
future. Yeah, it's like they have no future. They have no inheritance. They're about to go, and they're just sitting there like, we either go to Moses, because I'm sure the guys at the first level manager that they went through that was in charge of the tens or the hundreds were like, shut up, it's fine, go sit down. They'd like go to your uncle or something, and they're just like,
Yeah, but-
no, we don't have anybody.
At that time, for women not to even have the ability to even have an inheritance before this situation, for their voice to even be heard this far is, I would say, a bit outstanding, right?
Yeah,
a round of applause.
absolutely. They
Very
had
progressive
to, like,
on Moses'
persisted.
part.
Well,
How impressive. Somebody actually listened to them.
no, I'm saying that like it would have been so to go before the front.
They
of the
must have had
tabernacle.
some either deep connections.
You guys are trying to make it seem like, listen,
This
it's
is
true.
impressive. Somebody finally listened to a woman.
No,
And
But
so
how
now
are
women
five?
should
How are
shut
five
up.
of them? How are five of them just not married? All five
They're probably
daughters are
That's
just
what
not
I'm
married.
saying. Like all five of them
Young.
aren't married, dude. Young wouldn't have
I
mattered
thought they
back
got
then.
married at 12 years old or whatever. Didn't they
That's
get
not a
married
thing.
super
Unless
young?
they were like 6, and now if there's 6 going before like Moses, like
Then that's
hey,
impressive.
where's our land? Like, dude,
Daddy Moses, Daddy
like,
Moses,
that's
my
insane.
land.
It wasn't the youth.
dude.
I'm pretty sure these were old and haggard women.
No, they 'cause later. Spoiler alert: the
Just a
last
bunch
chapter,
of Karens.
the book.
I bet
had
nobody
that
liked them
haircut.
because of their attitude. Their
their
attitude
name
must
was
have
Hogla?
sucked.
The
Hogla.
type of woman that's like, I'm going to speak to your manager just all the way to the top.
Yeah, back
And
then
never
it
stop.
wasn't Karen. It was
Wow,
don't
this
be a
got so
hogla.
sexist. Like,
Man,
they can't-
we got it. All right.
I was trying to bring out the point that they were like
There's no
brave and they were
sexism
strong.
here.
And
There's
Dear
no sexism.
listeners,
We're reading
I
the
just want
story.
to say that we do believe women should have rights. Maybe not Josh and Andrew,
listen,
but I do.
I'm pointing out the fact that the Bible clearly states that God is for women's rights. That when he saw the injustice and when it was brought before Moses, God spoke and intervened. Moses didn't come with the judgment. God did. And he said, this is right. This is how it's supposed to be.
How many rights did he give them?
He
One.
Just the one.
I'm so done with it. We're moving on. We're done with women's rights.
God
First
said,
the tractor.
you
Now,
know what? Women need a win here. You're right,
Whatever.
women.
You can
All
have one.
5
thing.
of you.
he can have
From
one.
that table right there, choose the one thing that you want.
You guys are ridiculous. All right. So the chapter continues on with something very important. Continues on. Oh, actually, no, I said that right.
Continue. I meant to say it's continuing. We haven't recorded in a while. So therefore, we don't know how to do this anymore. Joshua, the next leader of Israel.
Yeah. So the chapter continues with Moses instructing him to go up into Mount Abiram. And essentially what he does up there is
Abiram.
he tells Moses that his death is near. Just like he told Aaron that, hey, you're going to die soon. Go up on this mountain, take off your clothes and give them to your son. Joshua is chosen and commissioned to succeed Moses as the next leader after Moses to pass on to the next.
I want to ask just one quick thing, because eventually Moses does die. What's up with the go on the mountain and die alone stuff? Like, why always climb up the mountain?
That's a good question.
Like, why do you have to climb a mountain and then die?
Because they're so old.
They're
They're
doing a
so
lot of this
old at
mountain
this point.
trekking.
Because obviously, the closer you are to the heavens, the closer you are to God.
No, it tells us here in the chapter.
Biblically,
You guys wanna, read.
Biblically, that's what's happening.
So Nathan, if you read a couple read from 12 to 15.
Now the Lord said to Moses, go up into this Mount Abarim and see the land which I have given to the children of Israel. And when you have seen it, you also shall be gathered to your people as Aaron, your brother, was gathered.
I'm sorry.
For in the wilderness of Zin, during the strife of the congregation, you rebelled against my command to hallow me at the waters before their eyes. These are the waters of Meribah at Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. Then Moses spoke to the Lord, saying, let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, who may go out before them and go in before them, who may lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be like sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord said to Moses, take Joshua, the son of Nun, with you, not the son of no one. His father's name is Nun. A man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. Or mother's name is Nun.
Yeah,
but she wasn't a nun. She just was named Nun. Set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation, and inaugurate him in their sight.
So, and give some of your authority.
And he's going to give him some authority.
Which is great. Yeah, no, it's, you could read the whole chapter. Essentially, the more of the same. So we see specifically, why did God have him go up on the mountain? God allowed him this, I would say, grace, where it says that when you go up onto this mountain, you're going to see the land. So it's going to be a high enough place where he can look across the river Jordan over into the land of Canaan, and he'll see the people that have gathered, and he's going to see the land. And it's kind of like you're not going to be able to step foot into it because of the sin that you did at Meribah with striking the rock instead of speaking to it, and because you misrepresented God's authority and his power there. But I will let you go up there, and when you see all this and you appoint Joshua as a leader and give him some of your authority, then you can die in peace, and your work is ended, and I'll bring you into the the
they
bosom
did
of
say
Abraham.
when Moses died, he had like full strength, though. He didn't die like an old feeble man. He was still pretty,
Isn't that about Joshua? Joshua says that he, like, when he was old, he had the zeal and the power of a young man to keep fighting.
He said that about Moses too.
How did
Yeah,
he
no,
die?
God
I just read about Moses' death.
Heart
earlier.
attack?
Yeah. What?
I don't think Moses died from a heart attack. I think he just like.
I mean, maybe if old age. Yeah, the heart attack was who knows? Nobody knows. He just went up to the mountain, but
We don't know where he's buried.
We're not. We're going to talk about the death of Moses later, but this is just kind of like alluding to the fact that, hey, the time is near. It's time to set a successor. And Joshua, obviously, remember, Joshua's kind of been with Moses from the beginning. He was on top of the mountain with him when he was
his apprentice.
Yeah, essentially, he was literally a servant. And remember, Joshua also was like in the tabernacle constantly. Like, even when Moses wasn't there, it said that he was always by the door of the tabernacle. That's where he was found day and night. He would never not be found there in God's presence.
That's why they call it Joshua tree.
And, God, God of the spirits of all flesh, so God of everything. And it says that Joshua also had whom is a man in whom is the Spirit, essentially saying that like that God of spirits, that's part of that Spirit is inside of Joshua.
Well, there's something special about Josh. There's something special about Joshua. I mean, obviously the tie with Jesus, right? What the meaning behind even what Joshua means is Savior, right? And Jesus is the Savior that did come and basically free the people of the world of all sin. But Joshua is basically doing this exact same thing. He's saving them while they are going through all of this. And in him is the Spirit, and in Jesus is the Spirit. Basically, the Spirit is Jesus. So I obviously I made no sense there. I just thought that.
No,
was
yeah,
awesome.
you were. You
made no
point
sense.
that you lost.
See, there's a spirit
I
of
should,
whom is
I
inside
should
the
stick
Spirit
to tractor
outside
stories.
with
think-
the Spirit.
I think Joshua
Joshua was riding a tractor. You see,
No. The cool thing about Joshua is he's after Moses. Those are some big shoes to fill.
listen,
Think about it.
Joshua,
The
the
biggest
son of Nun. Okay,
Yeah.
Jesus,
Not a son, not a patriarch. Like, okay, Isaac was Jacob's son, so he was groomed for it, so on and so forth.
No, I
This
get
12
it.
tribes is like, this is like the biggest, now that Israel is a nation of like millions of people, and they've gone through so much, and he's seen a whole generation die in so many different ways, so many creative ways in the desert. He's also been there 40 years. So Joshua's an old man now too. Like he's like fully grown. But this is the cool thing about the way that he's selected, essentially. God instructs Moses that you shall give him authority before the congregation so that the Israelites may be obedient to him. They have to do this in a, like pretty much coronate or like authorize him with Eleazar, who's the high priest after his father. He shall stand before Eleazar, the high priest, and judge him by the judgment of the Urim. And at his word he shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, and he shall be all the children of Israel with him and all the congregation. So essentially, remember, from what I understand, God selects Joshua and instructs Moses to inaugurate him so that there's no dispute and there's no doubt as to like who's the one that's supposed to be chosen in his place. Because remember, like you said, big shoes. You can't just be like, Joshua can't just be like, okay, I'm in charge. Like, well, who says you're in charge? You know, think about Korah. People are wanting to be in charge too. So they have to make a big show of it. And Eleazar would inquire before the Lord with the Urim instead of God directly speaking to Joshua as Moses did. So it's setting an important precedence. God spoke directly to Moses. He said, with my servant Moses, I will speak face to face. But Joshua will have the high priest and they will work in conjunction, and God will now respect the office of the high priest that he established, and the word of God will come through the priesthood to the leader of Israel. It won't just be the same anymore. Now that there is this position that God said this is how it has to be, now that there is an ark, now that there is a tabernacle, God will work within that confines for his people so that they can see order, so that there can be proof behind it, and so that there can be a checks and balances as well. So I think it's important to establish that.
That's right.
Yeah. So why do you think God wanted it to do it that way versus just, pillar of fire speaking, just going up mountain to the same, like another guy, just have another Moses come up? And do you think there just wasn't somebody like a Moses?
I think a little bit of that. I mean, you're not going to find people like that often. Joshua's role would also be very different from Moses. Not to say that Moses didn't have, he's never shed blood or anything like that. Yeah. Moses was he was not a weakling, I would say. But Joshua's role would be to be a commander of an army, a general, essentially. His role as leader, it says he will give him some of the authority, not all the authority that Moses had, some of the authority so that the Israelites can have an organized general that will lead them into the conquest of the land of Canaan. And then you also have the priests who will represent, remember the role of the priest is going to be the individual that represents God to the people and the people to God, whom God will speak. If it's directly, there's more of a chance as well as they fall in sin, maybe tempted, that God will strike out and destroy them. Think about how many times it happened in the wilderness because most, it's just because of humanity's lack of ability to be that close to God. God does this so that he can preserve humanity while still keeping them close to him so that they can continue and eventually proceed down the line to where he will bring back the salvation of humanity.
I think God knows our strengths and our weaknesses, right? So with Moses, he knew, because I don't know where you were going at with the whole Moses thing about him being strong and that he, shed blood or whatever.
Well, I'm saying, but he definitely wasn't the general type.
Yeah, Joshua was the warrior, and it was obvious about it. First off, look at Moses on how he reacts, even at the very beginning. He's raised in the palace. Palace kids, I mean, yeah, maybe they learned their fancy taekwondo, all that stuff, but they don't.
He definitely was trained as a general too. I'm not saying that.
Yes, but how much war? You're right. Yeah, Egyptians were known to train back in the day, princes to be generals.
Rich
and
people knew how to fight a lot more.
That's what I'm saying. That he knew, maybe fancy taekwondo. Okay, I don't know what they taught back then.
I mean, it's warfare is like that. That's information that's only available to the rich. It's not.
Let me put it this way.
You kind of making light of the fact that this guy had some crazy military knowledge.
No. Well, let me put it to you this way. The reason I bring that up is because I think about David, right? David's desire once he established Israel and defeated the enemies, he's like, how can I live in a house of cedar when the Lord still lives in tents? His desire was to build a temple for God. That's what David wanted to do. But because David was, it says his hands were full of blood, like he shed too much blood, God didn't allow him to be the one that constructed something so holy. And he would do it through his son Solomon. Joshua, in part, will have a different role than Moses would.
Yeah, Joshua's going to have bloody hands.
He's going to have bloody hands. And now that we have the rules and the orders and the rituals of being clean, and if God said, if you want my presence among you, you have to be like this, Joshua's going to be in a constant state of warfare for the next however long. It can't be the same as it was with Moses. Moses was selected in a specific time, in a specific place, in a specific way that nobody else will have that same role. You know
he was selected. This is what he was selected for. He was selected because of his willingness to follow God. And I would say, not that he's a great speaker, but God saw the potential in him that he could be a good leader, that people will follow him everywhere. Even though at the beginning, they kind of hated him. All right.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, they were also slaves and they were scared.
They were also slaves. But he ended up a good leader. I mean, I don't have any real good examples other than like a couple people, but that might be kind of trigger some. But either way, someone who is able to get I was going to bring up Hitler. Somebody who's able to get a bunch of...
I knew it.
That's not a good leader. There's so many...
that's why I'm saying... Leader. I'm saying someone
Abraham
who's able
Lincoln. How hard is this to be
like... There's so many other, but I knew...
George Washington. I don't know. Okay.
It's 4th of July this Friday. You could have named
someone who's able to
Ulysses S. Grant.
Someone who's able to gather a bunch of people behind them, even though at the beginning they don't like him or whatever. That's what Moses' role is. Now it's shifting, and we need the warrior, which is Joshua. If Moses was such a good warrior traits
would have lived forever.
Yeah, but a lot of times people who are really good warriors are not scared, right? They're not scared individuals. We see that Moses had a lot of fears at the very beginning. So that kind of gives me the mentality of he wasn't really the warrior type.
I mean,
he killed a guy and then ran away as fast as he could. He didn't stay there to fight it.
I think the only reason he didn't is just because that one mistake he made. Yeah. But I think he would have continued. You guys have to keep in context that Moses is essentially, after Jesus, probably the biggest name in the Bible. And what I was asking originally was, how come it was just Moses, and after that, nobody else like Moses ever again? Like, what set Moses apart from like an Elijah or David or, because God spoke to Moses face to face. Essentially, Moses saw more of God through what we read in the Bible, saw more amazing works of God than I think most everybody else in the Bible, right? He wrote the Bible, essentially. He wrote the first few chapters. The responsibility was given to him to write all these things down, which eventually became, and like all the laws came to him. I mean, this had to be some type of extraordinary mind to like, not only to, because look how detailed some of these rules are and like things and offering. We're going to get into that, I guess, in the next whatever with offering. Oh, we're not. Yeah. But like all the stuff that they had to keep, all the organizing everybody in a place. And then on top of that, you also had this like crazy life to back it up. And then to see the works that the whatchamacallit, whenever it was all the plagues on Egypt, and then the parting of the Red Sea, and seeing pillars of fire following you all the time, and Moses, God literally cupping him and putting him in his, he doesn't see us, but he sees the back of God's glory. That whole thing you said about glory,
his goodness.
He saw his goodness. God, Moses wanted to see his glory, and then God says about Moses later on that he's spoken to him face to face. Nobody would ever see. That's incredible. To the point where even his bones and his body, the devil essentially, there was a fight between the angels and the devil about the body of Moses. Like the angels had to fight off the devil for the claim of the body of Moses. I mean, that doesn't happen to King David. Doesn't happen to Elijah. Elijah gets taken to heaven. It doesn't happen to anybody else until literally Jesus, and Jesus is like another Moses in a sense, like in a lot of ways, except he's the son of God. which we firmly believe that as Christians, that he's the Son of God. I mean, other religions have different viewpoints of what Jesus is and who Jesus is and what he does, whatever. But we as Christians believe he's the Son of God. He's the Messiah. He's coming back again. But I'm just saying, like, that's what I was kind of asking. Like, it's crazy because we're finishing Moses now, and it's going to Joshua, and Joshua's like, yeah, he has some authority, but it's not Moses.
We're not finishing yet. I mean, we're close
Joshua's
to the end.
amazing. I love his
Joshua's
story.
amazing, but he's not Moses. Like he ain't Moses. Joshua's kind of using what Moses put into place and just going forward from there. But Moses was like that's the one, right?
Yeah.
That's like the Neo of the story, so to speak.
No, Jesus is the Neo.
Jesus is the Neo because he comes again. Remember, the Matrix, he comes again.
And again and again. And again.
Right? Whereas, Moses is kind of to the point where some people believe Moses will return again.
Well,
like,
I'll be the anti guy a little bit, and I'm gonna go against a little bit what you're saying. Basically, Moses, he never really got. He was only given a bunch of special gifts and special powers, but Joshua went out and he fought for his position. He went and he stayed in the tabernacle, even though he didn't have to. He went and he was one of the spies, and he went and he decided to go fight the Anaks and all those other guys. Moses held his hands up.
Well,
yeah, because
I'm not degrading. I'm not trying to degrade.
Minimize what.
No. I'm not trying to degrade Moses. I'm just saying that.
he just held
Joshua.
his hands up. Well, it's not as cool as
Joshua fought for the reason why maybe even God chose Joshua, because he saw that his spirit was in him and the willingness, his perseverance to just keep going forward and not lose faith. There's something about that.
Yeah,
Moses,
guess, but
from the beginning, he doubted. From the beginning, he doubted and he did not understand. But God, I don't even know why. That's the weird thing. None of us really understand and know why God chose Moses.
All right.
But
Joshua witnessed all the things that Moses accomplished. Of course, he's going to have like confidence. He because he literally saw pillars of fire and like he saw all the things. God was real. Moses didn't have a Moses for Moses.
Did you, in any of these stories, did you see Joshua complain?
Yeah, what's he going to complain about? Moses is the man. All he knows is like, dude, there's this guy named Moses that like God.
Everyone else complained. Everyone else complained. A lot of other people complained, but Joshua, you don't see him.
You're kind of trying to say like, so first of all, it's a lot more impressive to me to put.
You were relating Moses to Jesus, and that's where
it is. That's what the Bible says, that there was never anybody like Moses, and even like everybody said, it's not like unusual. It's literally biblical. The Bible says that about Moses. There will never be a guy that God speaks to face again. God spoke face to face with this guy. This is something that's unusual. It's unheard of, and it never happened again until Jesus Christ. And you cannot put Joshua's accomplishments anywhere near what to talk face to face with God. Yeah, Moses only had to stretch his hands because he knew that's an accomplishment,
but that's because God. That's an accomplishment.
What is the argument here? Are we trying to say that Joshua is not as good as, or Joshua is better than Moses? Like, what exactly are we doing?
No, I'm trying to bring some light to Joshua that he worked hard for his position.
No, I'm not saying
he earned his position. I cannot say the same thing about Moses. Moses did a great job, but I would not say that he earned his position.
What are you talking about earning?
God chose him. That's the difference.
This is kind of like a needless argument. It really doesn't. This isn't like worth keeping on going. Joshua earned it because God chose him. Just like Moses didn't do anything to earn it. He was in the desert looking after some sheep after abandoning his people, and God said, "I choose you." You don't do anything to earn or merit you're being chosen by God. It's God who chooses based on who.
Hey, I'm just going against what Nathan was saying. That
I get it. That's not the one to fight.
Yeah, but that's a super losing argument.
It's cool to try to be
losing
contrarian.
You lost.
It's such a bad position.
Moses is so much more.
Hold on, let me find this. Moses isn't cool. You know what I mean? Hold on. This is it right here. Joshua's better because he fights.
I wasn't saying that Joshua was better.
Don't base the religion on that's Joshua. They certainly did not.
I wasn't saying that Joshua was not that he was better. You're just saying that his accomplishments are nowhere near.
Nathan was saying that how crazy is it that somebody like Moses existed? But let's continue. I mean,
how crazy is it? Someone like Enoch,
Joshua,
someone like Enoch existed.
There's nothing said about Enoch.
Yeah.
He took him. Cool. I mean, he still didn't do what Moses did.
Yeah, he did not do what Moses was kind of like. It's insane. The accomplishments.
Listen,
he had.
Yes,
there's literally a
I
chapter.
love Moses.
Listen, there's literally a chapter that recounts everything you're doing is literally like chapter 30, 3. Just relax. All right, we're gonna continue on with the verses or the chapters so we can finish the book of Numbers tonight. Yes, Joshua is appointed and he's anointed before the whole people. There's no doubt Joshua will be the next leader after Moses is gone. Chapters 28 and 29 could
has to have a priest though. He doesn't be not like Moses. It's all one and the same.
Give detailed instructions are given for the Sabbath, daily, Sabbath, monthly, and special festival offerings. 28 verses 1 through 15 cover daily and monthly offerings. We're not going to go into them too deep because we want to get.
Let's go into them a little bit. You're just reading over, say that this is what 28 is, 29 is this.
Yeah, Passover and feasts of offerings for them on those specific days, and then chapter 29 verses 1 through 40 cover the offerings for the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and the Feast of the Tabernacles, or the Feast of Weeks, if you will. What I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about Numbers chapter 30 because it kind of goes back into that same theme that we've been following a little bit. It's a little bit easier. Chapter 30 goes over vows, and it kind of touches a little bit more on women's rights, which I thought was a little funny because they really go in depth about like promise keeping and like when a promise is allowed to be kept. Essentially, it's like if a man makes a vow to the Lord and swears an oath to bind himself by some agreement, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. So yeah, you make a promise. Even Jesus says, let your yeses be yes, your noes be noes. If you bind yourself by some agreement, it's to God commands that you complete it. If a woman makes a vow and binds herself by some agreement while in her father's house in her youth, and her father hears the vow by some agreement, which she bound herself, he has the option essentially whether to veto or to allow her to uphold this promise. It's kind of weird. And then also once she gets married, if her husband hears her make a promise or a vow, if he doesn't say anything, then she's held by that promise. But if he's like, no, you're not doing that, then the vow is void. If he does it once he hears it, he can't complain about it later, but like in the hearing of her husband. I just think that's a little weird.
What's up with the vows these people are making? Like, how many vows do they make?
I swear to you, I will bring you this sheep.
That there has to be like a discussion. All right, guys, with the vows, enough with the vows, man. Like, dude,
there must have been a trade-off type of thing, like, God, if you get me out of this, I will give you this. If you save my little boy, I will give you 10 sheep a year. And then next thing you know, you don't have any sheep. So that's what I would say would be kind of like a vow. I mean, Nathan, you have stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure you've done stuff like that in your life, right? That you've basically had hard times and all of a sudden you're saying to God, if you get me out of this, I'll tithe all year or whatever.
Nah, dude, I actually never do that because I know myself.
You've done it at least once.
I can't hold on to. I don't like pigeonholing myself.
Listen, I have not always been the best person. I've lived the worldly life, and there were moments where I thought that I was going to die, and in those moments, I prayed and I would say to God, not in the wisest, obviously it's not the wisest thing to do, but that's the only hope, right? And you basically make like, I promise I will never do this again. I'll never touch this again.
Yeah. But when it comes to God, I mean, the vow is like,
I don't know why I got so deep with that all of a sudden.
I never say never.
Never say
because it's just, I don't know. And the vows that I made, I vowed that I'll be a believer for the rest of my life. That's one vow I made. I vowed that, but there's certain things I have made a vow, but I wouldn't say like this is, before. I did make a vow that I would pray every night before going to bed, no matter what. I would say my prayer. And it's gotten to the point where I can't pray if I can't go to bed if I don't pray these days, because I've held it for so long. And it's crazy because I'm pretty sure most people, I mean, at least kids, you send them, did you say your prayers, go to bed,
But for real though, like as a serious question, how many times have you gotten in bed and you're already laying down, you're super comfortable, and you're like, oh,
I didn't pray.
And then,
I get up.
You get up. Okay, that's solid.
I know. I get up. That happens to me often, actually.
Sometimes I catch myself, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't get up, and I stay in that position.
No. And you try to say a prayer and that, but it doesn't work. So what happens to me is I'm laying. Sometimes I sleep on my couch because I have a recliner.
But do you think that God doesn't
fall asleep in the living room? And I'm like, oh man. I actually literally put the recliner up, get up, and get on my knees on the couch because I have a wood floor, and I pray.
But if you were in that recliner, would God still listen to you, even if you were in that same position? Or is there some type of reverence, respect, right?
So the reason I do is out of respect for God, I get up because it's a vow. That's one of the few vows I've made before God. I get up to hold that vow.
So women making vows, they might be able to inherit. They might be able to inherit some land, but they can't make a promise without permission.
I was going to say that it's interesting that does say about the women in her youth.
Oh, that's just because it's because it's specifying in every different part of her life. So in the beginning it says her father, and then when she takes a husband while bound by their vows. And then also when she's a widow or a divorce, it covers like by which, she vowed something in her husband's house and bound herself by an agreement. Her husband heard it and made no response. And did not overrule her, even though the husband's dead. She's still bound to it.
Well, so if you're widowed or divorced, you're screwed. Not screwed, but like there's no going back.
Then it's the same. If you make a vow, you're just held by that vow. Promise keeping was very serious in the Bible.
Well, what about a young, not a female, but like a young boy? Like a 12, 13-year-old boy that makes a vow before the Lord at a young age. Can the father still overrule that because he's not necessarily, I guess, a man?
No, it's just for women.
For Jew, their bar mitzvah is 13, right?
13, yeah.
So they are men at 13.
Yeah, and
so a 9-year-old boy.
7-year-olds are not going, I swear by the Lord God of Israel. It's not.
If you give me 5 pieces of black licorice, I don't know. I have no idea, but that's interesting.
It's just these are the statutes that the Lord commanded between Moses, between a man and his wife, between a father and his daughter in her youth, and in her father's house. So
now what happens if she breaks the vow? Is there some type of
the Lord will afflict her soul. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict her soul.
I don't even know what that means, but that sounds terrible. The affliction of a soul. What does it mean to afflict the soul?
Oh man,
it's just to be held guilty. You know what I mean? Like,
did you hear that?
If you break it, you sin. Probably. I don't know. It's considered a sin. No, it's.
Did you hear it down here?
Let's move on to chapter.
Like I just told you a second ago. I didn't know we were doing that.
Now you know. So you know. When you know, you know.
Now we're moving on to Numbers 31.
Numbers 31.
In Numbers 31, we see the war against the Midianites. Remember that back in chapter... what chapter was it?
Oh, man.
It was like 23, 24, 25.
26. 20,
so bad at this now.
25. Back in 25, the
Did we talk about the vows at all?
Yeah, we did a little bit.
But are we leaving it in?
Honestly, yeah, we are. It's good enough. Women can't make promises. We're not going to dissect that.
No, they
women can't make promises
unless if they're divorced or widowed.
They can't make promises, and that they can't make promises that aren't heard by the man of the house. And
how desperate do you have to be
upon
to make a promise to go like hide? Like how?
What
type of promises are these? Really? Seriously?
Vows.
Yeah, but like how?
a vow of marriage.
This is so intense.
So we don't use vow anymore.
No, we do.
We do
When we
do
get
that at
married,
work.
we vow.
No, that's what I'm saying. We don't use these guys are using vows left and right. On our day to day, do we say vows ever?
I think it's the same as like a strong promise or like a commitment that you bind yourself
I don't
to.
know. Like what was?
I
what was
will be there to help you move.
Yeah,
I
but
will.
was there
Is that
some
a
sort of
commitment to
was
bind
there some
yourself?
sort of ritual with this? Like, did you go
No, just
sacrifice
literally-
something, go in front of the Lord? Hey, say, hey
Literally-
Moses, I've done this thing, and then he says,
Literally-
yeah, you did. We are good.
literally just says if the guy over there hears you and goes,
If he looks up, the guy said, yeah, keep that one.
or if he
God."
goes, she's like, okay, I promised I'll help you next Tuesday. We'll come over for tea. No, then you can't.
The woman will be like, I can't make it.
I can't
You
keep
think
that
they ever had an
promise now.
agreement where she's like supposed to say no?
Yeah, I'm sure that was the thing.
This is like, oh, I'm sorry, my husband said I just
This is where that started.
can't.
That whole thing that
I would want to.
couples do, this is where it starts, right? The whole excuse like, honey, don't remember we have that thing? Oh, yeah, we have to go right now. I totally forgot. Yeah, honey, remember we have to meet
Man,
The sheep. We got to put the sheep away.
This is where that started.
Yeah.
It started the Bible once again first.
first and everything. The first and the last.
All right, vengeance on the Midianites.
So Numbers 31, God commands Moses to take vengeance on the Midianites.
Just like the title.
Nathan, read verse 1.
And the Lord says, take vengeance on the Midianites. Literally says that.
I know.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take vengeance on the Midianites for the children of Israel. Afterward, you shall be gathered to your people. So Moses spoke to the people, saying, guys, tool up. Arm yourselves, arm some of yourselves for war, and let them go against the Midianites to take vengeance for the Lord on Midian. 1,000 from each tribe of all the tribes of Israel you shall send to war.
12,000. Wow.
Yeah, 12,000 people go and they defile or they destroy the Midianites because of the defilement that they were tempted into in chapter 25. It says that Balaam was destroyed and murdered here too.
Good.
Yeah, in verse 8 it says, the 5 kings of Midian were all killed, and then Balaam the son of Beor they also killed with the sword.
Good.
So
He
was-
deserves to
But sorry, what?
Was Balaam in the army with the Midianites, or was he just
That's a good question.
was he just doing his
supposed to
thing
have
and
come from far
a
away.
bunch of people come running with swords? Bam! I
Probably-
see you.
It could have been he's still on vacation. He hadn't gone home yet, and he's just like, you know what? I'll go next week. I think it should be good. I need this. I've got a payday.
I need this.
I deserve this.
Or do you think Balaam died? Like, it's okay. They killed Evi, Rechem, Zor, Hur, and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian.
Mm-hmm.
And then during that time period, Balaam also died. Just like somebody would be like, oh, my uncle died on 9/11. Oh, yeah? Yeah, in a car accident.
It just says they killed him with the sword. They're very specific.
They also
it says
killed with the sword.
Balaam and son, they also killed with the sword. Which they, right? The Israelites?
No. You
The
can't.
lowercase
We're not
name.
going deep on that one because that's pretty
pretty-
clear.
Pretty obviously, it was.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
This is ridiculous. Not Joshua.
Not Joshua is
Listen,
greater than Moses.
Realistically, the scenario here, the Midianites see that 12,000 Israelites are coming to attack them. So what do? They gather their prophet of the Lord, their seer, to be with them. So it's basically Balaam versus Moses. Who's going to win?
what they did, it's very easy that they took 1,000 from each tribe. That's literally like nobody compared to what they have. Like so many fighting men. What was it, like 261,000 fighting men? And the children of Israel took the women of Midian captive with their little ones, and they also took as a spoil of war cattle, all their flocks, and all their good. They also burned with the fire all the cities that they dwelt and all their forts.
Why?
And they took the spoils.
And they
Why?
took all that spoil and booty.
Wait
and beast.
wait a second. Why?
Thank you for interjecting on that. Oh, they were allowed. It wasn't a
No.
bad thing.
Because what was didn't Balaam basically convince the Midianites to send Midian women to seduce them? And then now they take them over, and then they're allowed to have the Midianite women with them.
I'm glad you said something about that, because that's a problem. What happens is essentially they collect
all the spoil and
it
all
says
that
75,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 people or persons in all. Women who had not known a man intimately essentially are the only ones that are hold on, that's not there yet. They took all the captives and they brought the spoils to Moses and to Eleazar the priest.
and the booty.
And in the Bible it says they brought all the captives, the booty, and the spoils to Moses, Eleazar, the priests, and the congregation of Israel to the camp in the plains of Moab by the Jordan River, across from Jericho. They always say that. Where they're at right now, they're in the plains across before the Jordan River, across from Jericho, because that's going to be important later. I don't know if you guys know this or not. But Moses was angry. He was not happy with this, because essentially he was angry with all the army captains, the captains over the thousands and the captains over the hundreds who had come from the battle. And he says, have you kept the women alive? Because Joshua literally brought this, like, these are literally the reason that we have to kill them. You left them all alive? These women have caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam
to trespass against the Lord in the incident of Peor. Mm-hmm. And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord.
Now, this part kind of is sad. But
now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones and kill every woman who has known a man intimately. But keep alive for yourself all the young girls who have not known a man intimately. Yeesh.
Yeah, so you see the whole like women's rights, like, oh, little girls, but like every boy gets killed, and then every little boy, every woman who is either married or has known a man intimately, whether it's whatever, and it's just, and then after you do that, you remain outside the camp 7 days. Who has killed any person? Remember that, there's rules now for whenever you're clean and non-clean and ritually pure and impure. It's a pretty bleak sight, because like you ask yourself, why wouldn't they spare the little ones? They're like, how could they command that they kill little kids and all the boys, Andrew, and all the women?
Why do you think that they couldn't spare the little ones?
Why are you asking me like that? I'm the one asking you guys.
Because it's easier to kill.
No. I mean, like, it is super sad, as a dad to hear to imagine this, right? But at the same time, as if you're someone that has a nation and you've taken another nation and you take a bunch of little ones, those little boys eventually will grow up, and they'll grow up with hatred in their hearts, because guess what you just did? You killed their dad, right? You killed their parents, you killed their father. So those kids are going to grow up with hatred, and now you're going to have a bunch of little boys growing up to be, strong men eventually that hate you, and they live inside your camp, and all they're going to do is just cause destruction from within. Now, I'm not advocating for what they did. That is a terrible thing that happened, but at the same time, I can see maybe one of the reasons why they said that, hey, this needs to be done. And it was definitely a hard task. Like, who do you tell to do this? Like,
that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Who's the guy that goes like, all right, go do this, and then go sit outside away from your family for 7 days and think about what you just did.
Alone.
Just sitting with everybody else who did this and just sitting in a circle depressed for a week.
No, the bear Jew.
And the other thing is,
bastards.
kill every woman who has kill every
Comes out
woman
of
who has known a
cave.
man intimately. How did they know? How did they know who has known a man intimately?
I'm assuming it's just all the ones that are older than a certain age. That's
I
all.
think they ask him, "Hey, have you known a man intimately?"
Never. You're 35. You definitely
It's
have.
gotta
Come on.
suck. Some like 90-year-old woman she made it
I'm
through.
a virgin. I promise.
Listen, you can't hide. God knows. God knows.
You know, and then they just kill him.
Anyway.
Man.
Yeah.
And then they purify all the goods. They can't just keep it. They have to like pretty much anything that only the gold, silver, and bronze, the tin and the lead, everything that can endure fire, you shall put through fire, and it shall be clean, and it shall be purified with the waters of purification. Remember the red heifer ashes? They made the waters of purification. But all that cannot endure fire, you shall put through water, and it shall wash your clothes, and on seventh day you'll be clean, and afterwards you may come into the camp. So
What is the reason of that too?
Dude.
it's just to purify from the remember they worshipped idols. They worshipped other
Yeah,
things.
but do you think that it could do you think that it could have something to do from on a spiritual basis? Because things like, spirits can live within things as well, not just people.
Well, God obviously had some type of like process for these type of items that needed to be ritually pure and scourged of all essentially the spirits off of them. This was a method that he was using to clean the money, clean the clothes, the garments, the leather, things like the worth that they would take from the.
Well,
the
nowadays
There are
you see
spirits
people.
and things. I believe that.
I think,
No,
Definitely.
people
Evil's
do
being
that
spirits
nowadays.
and
They
things.
go around their whole house and then they pray and they put oil over every single object and thing. Like, if you got a lamp, they'll pray over the lamp and then they'll put oil on the lamp and then they have fragrances going around. That's a thing. People do that. Not just the average going around your house and putting
I think that
oil.
there's spirits that stay in places and things. I mean, that's
Haunted
the
houses.
whole basis of Conjuring, Annabelle movies. Dolls, and there's objects that could be filled with spirits.
Yeah, it's also things that remind, there's certain things like put the gold through the fire. It melts it down essentially. So if it was in the shape of some type of god or whatever the king was or whatever the symbol for their culture, they melt it down and they pretty much purify it, reshape it into something raw and kind of clean it off. Same thing with their clothes. They wash off the blood, they wash off the soot, they wash off the air.
Do you think they kicked Balaam? Did they stab him with the sword and then just kick him? Say,
I don't think they had to, because usually when you stab somebody with a sword, that gets the job done.
yeah,
Kicking
but then
would
you
just be
you give one for screw you, buddy.
Can you imagine Balaam getting killed by this? Like, I knew
That's
they
what
were
I'm
good.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I really never thought this would get back to me.
I thought I got away with it.
Anyway, so they divide the plunder up. I'm not going to read how they talks to the captains of the thousands.
Man, you really don't want to read anything this episode.
It's not that. It's just we do have 6 more chapters.
This is a story podcast. We're telling the stories of the Bible. We're not getting into the whistle. This guy got 50 shekels.
50 shekels.
500 schmeckles. All right. So chapter 32 is a very interesting chapter.
Is it now? I wonder when you're going to say it's not an interesting chapter.
You know what wasn't
At that
interesting?
point-
Chapters 28 and 29. You remember how quickly I went through that?
At that point, Andrew's favorite thing to say is, this is the most interesting one out of all of it.
It's an important chapter.
The tribes settle east of the Jordan.
No.
Very important.
Not the tribes. It's 2.5 tribes specifically. A problem comes up because you have the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh. They see the land that was Gibeon, essentially the land that would belong to King Sihon and King Og. And what they see is that now these tribes, remember I just marked out the tens of thousands of cattle that was taken and split up as inheritances. You see that
Wait, how do I do this?
you're literally in Asia right now.
It's over there somewhere.
Some believe that this actually happened in Russia.
We're ignoring that. We're good. So the tribes, they had a lot of livestock. These tribes in particular, sheep, goats, oxen. It didn't happen in Russia. Not even close. Not even going to humor that. We're ignoring it and we're moving on. They see this land, these plains that are on this other side of the
person believes that it happened.
He read it once on like a Reddit sub comment.
A long time ago.
No. Keep going.
The tribes of Reuben and Gad, they see the land is good, and they essentially bargain and say, since this place is so good and already set up for all the livestock, like it's already so perfect, and now there's not the King Sion and King Og the giant, let's just stay here. Let's settle. Do not take us over the Jordan. They literally say, if we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants as a possession. Not the promised land, this land west of the Jordan, where they're supposed to be camped out before they cross over and they actually enter into the promised land, which God said they will split up and have for their possession. But they see with their eyes that this place looks good. It's good enough for them. It fits exactly the needs of what their tribes are set up for. And they go to Moses and say, hey, can we just chill here? Moses gets very mad. He gets very, very mad. His response is honestly kind of shocking. Nathan, just read verse 14 in chapter 32 and 15.
And look, you have risen in your father's place, a brood of sinful man, to increase still more the fierce anger of the Lord against Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he will once again leave them in the wilderness, and you will destroy all these people.
He literally goes, like, in the beginning, he's like, now, shall your brethren go to war while you all sit here? Why would you discourage the hearts of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? You're literally going to, like, take away 2.5 tribes of people. They're already remembering that their fathers were scared to go because of the giants, and you guys just want to take the easy route. And now, not only doing this will you discourage your brothers and your tribesmen, but you're going to anger the Lord. And you see, how often do you guys want to just keep upsetting the Lord and not doing what he says and cause destruction upon yourselves? It's like he couldn't believe what they were asking him. But they come up kind of like with a clever response, if you will. They're like, okay, hold on. Just hear us out. What if, instead of doing that, we set up our cities, set up our livestock pens, we build places, we leave our wives, our children, our livestock here, and then all of our fighting men that would have fought with you guys anyway will cross over the Jordan with you. And not only will we fight with you still until every part of the land of Canaan is conquered and separated, but we'll also go on the front lines. We'll go before the tribes of Israel. So we'll take this place, and as a compromise, we do this. And when Moses heard this, he actually was like, okay, if you do this thing, you arm yourselves and before the Lord for war, and all your armed men, everybody that's 20 years and older, essentially the ones that were allotted for warfare, then afterwards you may return and be blameless before the Lord and before Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. If you do not do this thing that you said you'll do, take note that you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure that your sin will find you out. So he tells them, fine, do this thing, build your cities here, set your place up, and then it's cool if you continue with us. But it's just weird to me because it's like the rest of the tribes are crossing over with their livestock, with their families, their little ones. They're going on the front lines of war. These guys get to like have a home base. They're leaving everything that was precious to them and all their valuables here. All they're doing is sending out their armies now and fighting, granted, on the front lines, which is the hardest.
It's a retirement scheme.
It's a cop-out. And I struggle because you kind of, if you look and study this passage, some people think it's like, okay, it's not a bad thing that they did, but it's also not a good thing. I don't think it was a good thing. Personally, I look at it as a way that like they looked and saw the things of this world were better than the things that God promised to them. And they settled for things they weren't supposed to. They took the easy route out, and it's going to be a thorn in their side later anyway. Eventually, they're going to be on the other side of the Jordan. They're going to be detached from the tribes and the lands of Israel. They're not going to be in an area in which they're supposed to drive out the Canaanites. They're going to be surrounded with other nations, foreign nations, and later down the road, it's just going to be nothing but problems. It's going to be one of the reasons that like they separate, and it's wild to me that they did this. But then it's also interesting how like Moses. It doesn't say anywhere in this chapter that the Lord said, okay, do this. Moses kind of like, after getting mad in his initial response, he hits him back with like, okay, if you do this thing and we can still have your fighting force, he kind of compromises and makes an agreement with them. All right, then after we're done, you can come back and then this will be your portion. Instead of the portion that God had already said will be your portion and separated in the promised land, we'll give you this instead.
Yeah, definitely a cop-out. Maybe just Moses didn't really want them with him. He's just like,
no, he definitely wanted them with him.
As long as I have your fighting, man, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to go do. We're going to go fight.
It's your decision whether you want to follow God or not.
But here's the thing, like, okay, and the way I just said it, it seems like, yeah, obviously it sounds like it was a bad thing that it did. They chose the land instead of the land that God said. But later in Deuteronomy, Moses actually like blesses especially when he's talking over the tribe of Gad. He says he chose the best land for himself, for there is a commander's portion where it was reserved for him. And he came with the heads of the people, and with Israel, he executed the justice of the Lord and the judgments for Israel. Like kind of like co-signing and agreeing that like, okay, he got it was indeed good. You know, he kind of got the best part.
It was a good deal.
As like a guy that went out first, it wasn't a bad deal. On paper, it was good, and I blessed that. So again, it's something that was blessed, but it's like, I found that as a really weird gray area, and I want to know kind of what people think. And you can email us at greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com if you want to kind of weigh in. What do you think about this decision of the 2.5 tribes of Israel deciding to allot for themselves portion outside of the land of Canaan? You know, so that's a very interesting problem that's brought up in Numbers 32. Numbers 33 doesn't really have. It's a summary of, we already did this episode talking about, Nathan kind of covered it. It's the first part of the chapter. It summarizes the journey so far. It kind of lists out everything that happened from Egypt to the journey to the 40 years. And then it's very important the way it ends. Nathan, if you can read for us, that's the only thing I want to highlight in this chapter is God's instructions for how to drive out the Canaanites once they go into the land. It's very specific. And if you start with verse 52, it says, when they cross into the Jordan, into the land of Canaan,
then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, destroy all their engraved stones, destroy all their molded images, and demolish all their high places. You shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land and dwell in it, for I have given you the land to possess. And you shall divide the land by lot as an inheritance among your families. To the larger you shall give a larger inheritance, to the smaller you shall give a smaller inheritance. There's everyone's inheritance shall be whatever falls to him by lot, and he shall inherit according to the tribes of your fathers. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall be that those whom you let remain shall be irritants in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and they shall harass you in the land where you dwell. Moreover, it shall be that I will do to you as I thought to do to them.
Very important distinction. He tells them that when you go over there, and this is the thing that eventually we're gonna see as we go into the book of Joshua and they conquer. They're going to fail. Each tribe itself is going to be responsible for driving out the inhabitants of Canaan from the specific areas that are allotted. And that's what chapter 34 is. Chapter 34 covers the boundaries of the land of Canaan are described, and leaders from each tribe are appointed to oversee the division of the land once they enter into the area. And what's going to happen is they're all subsequently going to fail in clearing out all the inhabitants completely. And we're going to see through the history of Israel that it's going to cause nothing but issues. The ones that did not get pushed out will be irritants in the eyes and thorns in the side. It's a prophetic word from God that they, at the initial point, Joshua started off with zeal and with, a good step, but it's going to end kind of with, like the decision to land outside of Canaan. It's going to be like kind of like a land with a flop. Like it's going to be good, but there's going to be some problems still. There's never complete obedience.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're moving through these chapters now. I'm sorry.
I know. It's like, where are we at?
Well, there's not really much to say other than that. That's the chapter. What else do you want to talk about?
I mean, no, there's not a lot. Like, that's what I'm saying. The rest of the book of Numbers isn't very like narrative. It's more of like I said, listing out some organization and
it's just retelling the story.
Boundaries, retelling the story. There's an interesting thing in chapter 35, which talk about the cities of refuge and the cities of the Levites. Chapter 35 kind of confirms the prophetic word that Jacob spoke to Levi in Genesis 49 on his deathbed, saying that you shall be scattered amongst the tribes of your brothers. The cities that the Levites will be given, they're not going to be given lots. Remember, their portion is to serve in the temple and to serve the Lord. Excuse me.
Hey,
but they're going to be given
like one. Sorry, one example when in chapter 34 when it's talking about the boundaries. Where is the sea that's very salty?
The Red Sea?
The Black Sea?
No,
the Black Sea?
The Black Sea. Where is that Black Sea?
Okay.
So their southern border shall extend eastward to the end of the Salt Sea. So if the Salt Sea is the very salty sea, which is the Black Sea, I can still see Russia being.
I knew it. I knew Russia was coming in there.
Saying, okay.
I'm gonna let them cook.
No,
No,
it's
letting
not
cook.
Russia, dude.
No letting cook.
No, go ahead. It's Russia.
No,
Tell us how it's Russia.
I don't. That's a whole. I mean, that's a whole other rabbit.
He's like, I don't want to. No.
It's just
go all the way back there.
I wanted to
Hear you. We're on camera, bro.
My bad. I forgot. I'm used to only being on audio. Even audio that was bad.
Yeah.
It could be Russia.
Some people believe that. Some people believe that it is in Russia, and even with modern day Israel, that it being formed only 60 years ago, that the modern day Israel that we have isn't the actual location of where Israel is. That this is all just kind of in other words, the Israelites that are in Israel aren't the actual Israelites that were there from the beginning. They came from the north, and that's also. I mean, look at it. World War II, the majority of the Jewish people, they were in Europe. A lot of them were in Europe. They were almost all of them were up there, and then they were shifting them all back, all down south. And then that's where we end up. That's a whole other topic, though, because that's going into is Israel history.
Joshua.
Because this is a new thing. Because they're saying Israel, they're trying to this is not the Israel of the Bible. It's been a thing lately, trending. With the.
I mean, it's been a thing for a long time. That's why why there's this whole debate for so long. Then the whole war that keeps going on between Israel, Palestine, all these different places.
Because it's in the 40s, man.
I know, but it's not 40 years ago, is what I'm saying. I don't know exactly how many.
1948.
76 years.
Yeah,
we're in 2025.
My bad. My bad. 76 years.
So
but either way, the 76 years ago beginning of Israel, some people are saying that it's not technically the same Israel that we are seeing from the Bible.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can you agree that Egypt has been in the same spot since before? Because Egypt is kind of a good landmark to gauge whether or not.
But the map. I mean, if you look at even Mount Sinai, right? We don't exactly know which one is the actual Mount Sinai, right?
It's the one in Saudi Arabia for sure.
It's not the one that's called Mount Sinai now.
Yeah, that was the mistake, but it doesn't mean that it was all the way up in Russia. They're just trying to discredit the legitimate. They're trying to delegitimize
Israel.
Sorry,
it's like an anti-Semitic thing.
The whole thing right now with Iran and
that's
Israel,
just a very anti-Semitic.
People do not like.
They don't like the Jews.
They never have. Throughout history, the Jews have always been hated.
I mean, I'm looking at Israel in biblical times where it's located.
It's very
I'm looking at it
sure that
modern times. It's kind of the same place.
They literally still have pieces of
because Egypt
wall.
You got to base it off Egypt because Israel was always kind of close.
It's
to
kind
Egypt.
of a nonsense argument because there's so many artifacts there too, and landmarks. Everything is even outside of Egypt. You talk about Jordan, you talk about Iran, you talk about Iraq, the surrounding landscape and what civilizations were there. The Babylonians, the Assyrians, the way they interacted in the area of Russia. That was a completely different thing going on for thousands of years. So I understand. I never heard that before.
You can find.
I kind of want to look it up now.
I am looking it up.
I want to do
There's
research on
nothing
it.
that says Israel is a part of Russia, like anywhere.
This is going to be in the title. Is
not Israel.
and Russia?
You got, it's about the 10 lost tribes of Israel.
Oh,
10 lost tribes.
Yeah, but that could also be in Africa.
That's
that
a
could
completely
be,
different
that's like
thing.
the guy that said all the, like that's everything. I don't know. Man.
That goes later, though. That doesn't really have anything to do with this part of the Bible. We're going to talk about the lost tribes and when everything kind of separates eventually. But right now, it's tough because
right now what we have
the,
that remain are the remaining tribes of the two. Right, those are the guys that remain.
Sure.
The comfort
we were on
seekers.
chapter 35.
We were talking about the cities of refuge.
The Levites have cities of refuge.
What are the cities of refuge?
I don't know what they are.
There's not just for the Levites; it's for all of Israel.
Yeah, all of Israel.
There's
if you do something wrong or if you kill someone, you can run there and then be safe. It's like hide and seek or tag. It's like playing tag, and then there's that safe spot where it's like you can't tag me because I'm here.
All the hitmen in Israel. Chill.
Yeah, they're all there.
Specifically, if you murder someone unintentionally, right? Involuntary manslaughter.
I mean, I didn't mean
drunk driving and you hit somebody and they die.
Drunk driving.
You hit them with your
I'll
horse.
give you an example that you can. You
ride
run
your
over them
camel
because your donkey went crazy.
Yeah,
bit his head off, and now you're responsible
what?
for the death of the dad of the daughters of Zelophehad.
Look, my sword. I was just holding my sword out. He walked into it willingly because I thrust it, and he was walking in that direction too.
What if he made a vow?
Exodus
What if he made a vow that you were going to kill someone?
Vows are different now.
I'm just saying. What if you made a vow? It's like
episode to end.
You don't know. So, like, if you don't follow through with the vow, your soul will be like, damn.
Numbers
so you have to follow through.
So done with numbers.
We're gonna have a whole other episode for the end of Numbers.
No, we're not.
Because we have the marriage of the hares.
No, we're not. The hares.
The marriage of female heirs.
Heirs.
Oh, heirs. I thought we were going into Avatar type of stuff. Like, put your hair together.
I thought you I didn't say whores.
Well, you did now. All right. So the city, let me just briefly run this down. You guys just mentioned like you could crime and run to these cities. That's not how this works. If you involuntarily kill somebody. They don't
extradite from these cities.
Essentially what happens is that according to Exodus 21:14, even an unintentional death requires you to now be put to death, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and the offended family or the affected family, the victim's family, they would be allowed to pursue you and claim a revenge killing, and essentially what the person who accidentally caused the death of this individual can do in this case is flee to one of these cities that would be easily located for anybody, no matter where you're at in the tribes. They'll have 3 on this side of the river and 3 on the other side of the river. So essentially it's easily accessible. And the individual can flee to that city and they'd be free from the pursuit of a revenging family, not free from any crime, because what still would happen is there would be an ensuing investigation that would be held before the congregation of the tribe, and only once the investigation and the trial concluded that the party was innocent in being a murderer voluntarily, did that person then be allowed to remain in the city. So the way it would work is then they would have to stay in the city of refuge, and only after the current high priest's death were they allowed to go back home to their original home.
You said what we said in so many more words.
No, I said
a place to lay low.
It's not a place to lay. It's their home until the high priest left.
Because they had
it's like a precursor to Christ, because it's like we who are guilty have a place to run to that can shelter. There's beauty behind it. You guys are ruining it. Okay, I'm done with numbers. We're going on to the stories.
They were basically like a mile wide, a little over a mile.
I wasn't going to go into the.
No, they were a mile.
Talk about
they were basically like a mile.
A mile wide for hitman.
The outward 1,000 cubits all around.
You
No,
know, in
2000.
Star Wars, Mos Eisley, where all the hitmen and
2000.
bounty hunters hang out. This
That's
was a
not
Mos
what that
Eisley.
is. That's why I'm trying to clarify. It's not. You can't just bop. I'm going to Jahartha or whatever they call it. You know, they can't. They have to.
Well, they got to do an investigation, and they can't
Dude,
technically go there.
Imagine
Even if
being
you think the guilty
imagine
didn't
being
hang
the
out
person
there.
that just did something, and then the whole family is out for you for revenge, and they're running after you.
You don't think people took advantage of this?
They kill somebody. It was an accident. Then you run over there.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
the
covered my
running,
tracks
the
well.
running aspect is the scariest point because you got to imagine there's probably like perimeter markers, so you know that once you cross that line, you're safe. But until you cross that line, that family's chasing you. They're out to kill you. So they're probably running
when
after
they
you
find out
with swords.
this isn't modern day. Like they can find out like the next day. Hey,
It's usually like, especially if it's somebody innocent, they're like,
where's
"Oh my
Joseph at?
This
We
was an
haven't seen
accident."
him in 3 days.
god!" The Avengers can literally. The thing about it is that the city, and even after they're found innocent, they have to. If they leave the city, the moment they leave the city, the avenging family can then kill the person.
Yeah,
If the avenging family enters the city and kills the individual, now the
That's a
avenger
problem.
has to be
Yeah.
killed.
that's it. They're making.
So it's
mistakes.
crazy. Like, imagine a new high priest just gets inaugurated. He's young, and this happens. That's your now city. That's where you live
Bro,
forever. You
We've
can't
all
go home.
seen X-Men where the Nightcrawler goes into church like sanctuary, like sanctuary, bro. That's what this is. This is the first sanctuary.
Essentially, yeah.
I get you're trying to make it a beautiful illustration. Of Jesus.
It's often theologically
That's
quoted as
often
like
that does.
an allusion towards like how Christ offers
You're right.
refuge.
Even
I'm
though
just
he was
telling
from
you-
the tribe of Judah, but
No offense.
It has nothing to do with the tribe.
No offense to anybody, and I know you guys might take it to offense, but believe you me, people definitely took advantage of that sanctuary city that were just straight up murderers. All right, don't act like only the people that accidentally killed somebody went there. Nah, bro, there's some straight up mercenaries that would just be like, I'm just gonna go sit there. They have to do an investigation, and guess what? When the investigation's finished, who's nowhere to be seen now?
The one that killed.
Exactly, because he knew that he could chill there, so he got
all
his
he would have to
bearings
do
right
is
and
just
then left.
Realize that he's brought. You realize that he's brought. So once they're brought back out of the city of refuge for the trial.
Yeah, I know.
And the moment they sniff that he's not innocent, they kill him there. Only once he's innocent, he goes.
unless
back
he
to the city.
escapes
I
and then
understand
goes
that,
to another
but
city.
he goes to the city, and they have to bring the investigation and be like, "Hey, we're gonna investigate."
I'm done.
He's in that city, and while they're looking to like do the trial, he's gone.
I'm done
But he
with
goes
the
to
city.
the other
Oh,
city
right,
because
right.
there's more than just one city. There's so many of these cities. So he
Yeah,
just
see,
goes
Josh,
from city to
There's
city.
6 cities.
Josh makes us a really succinct point.
There's 6 different cities.
I would just
on
keep
2
going from
different sides
city
of the
to
river.
city and basically be like,
just
there's
go
a
across the
trial in
river.
every city. And then I would just
Let's
say,
get
screw
to
it,
the
I'm
marriage
going to
of the
Midian.
hares.
I'm going to Midian.
Listen, we're ending the Midian is dead. They destroyed Midian.
Well,
Marriage of the female hares.
Stop. We're not.
Hares.
The book of Numbers ends on a very interesting note. We have the
all
daughters of
interesting.
Zelophehad. The left.
This is my favorite part right here of everything we read. By the way,
Listen. The daughters of Zelophehad. All right, they make a comeback here.
is that the original 5 that came up?
That we started the
Milcah
episode. The
Yeah,
Halag,
Halag.
remember?
Hogla.
Hogla.
Yeah, all these weird names, very unmeritable names.
Well, it's funny that you say that because now the issue of marriage is coming up, and there's a problem that arises before they enter.
Yeah, because
They
now
come
they're
up with
rich,
another-
so people want to marry
Another.
them.
very
got gold
very-
diggers.
Another astute observation, Joshua.
Oh my god!
Very great observation.
Gosh.
Curious how that happened. Now they have marriage issues.
Oh my
now that
gosh.
They have land.
Well, the problem that's brought up here is that now that they've inherited land, they're women. What if somebody from a different tribe marries them, and then the land that was inherited to them now belongs to the husband and the other tribe, and the tribe where they're from originally, which I believe is the tribe of Joseph, or who is it?
Sons of Joseph.
Look it up for me, Nathan. It's Manasseh, sorry. the tribe of the grandsons of Joseph. Their land is now minimalized, and the more that this happened, everybody's kind of losing portions of their inheritance. So the solution, we're going to kind of fast forward. The solution to this issue is that the women, the daughters of Zelophehad, are to marry within their tribe. They can only marry, they can choose whoever, it says they can select whoever they want to marry, whomever they please, but they have to marry within their tribe of their family members. It's kind of sucks because it's like of their father's brother's sons. They can choose,
He's 5. Let's get married, buddy.
They can marry, and essentially that way the land, the inheritance stays within the family. And likewise for the rest of the children of Israel, once these type of situations arise, if the daughter inherits land, they can remarry and they can marry anybody they want, but it has to be within the tribe so that the inheritance doesn't get squandered. It doesn't get mixed up and separated, and people think that it's unfair. After certain generations, all it takes is one bad war where a bunch of dads and sons are murdered. You have a whole line of women and daughters, and now they've inherited, and now all the line
they're double dipping.
Reuben is gone. Exactly. They could just purposely marry to inherit the inheritance of the girls that have a bunch of land. Hagla is now the most eligible bachelorette on the market because she's got a bunch of land.
A lot.
So that's how the book of Numbers ends. They end with these brave women bringing up very important social issues that needed to be addressed that nobody else brought up until that point. I think it's awesome. To the opposite of what you guys were saying, I think that God was very forward thinking and progressive with the ideas of like women's rights and making sure everybody was fair, just, and taken care of. It wasn't just
because this is what it was about.
A patriarchal society.
It was about God being
there
progressive.
Was also justice. It's not, but it's showing that God is a God of justice. He doesn't just send it to another guy who's up the street. You know what I mean?
I agree.
It's literally what's fair is fair. Sure, the men rule,
agree.
but at the same time, it's like within reason.
It's still intriguing to see these women constantly being heard. I'm saying these particular women, because like I said before, it's not the easiest thing to go and basically talk in front of God and actually have a council. But this is their second time, so they must have already had.
Famous Moses was.
Exactly.
How famous Moses was at this point. Not only just like he's been around for like 40 plus years. He's like the most famous person in their world. And he gets to go be fine. I know.
He's probably also not just walking around the camp and everything. He's in his spot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just
right. So, Nathan, if you'll read verse 13, we'll finish off the book of Numbers with Numbers 36, verse 13.
Sure. These are the commandments and the judgments which the Lord commanded the children of Israel by the hand of Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho.
Across from Jericho. Now, this is the end of the census of the 2 censuses. Remember, we have the new generation geared up, ready, prepped. We're going to enter into the book of Deuteronomy next episode, and we're going to cover the entire book in one episode because the book of Deuteronomy is a series of sermons and speeches given by Moses to this new generation right before his death, right before they cross over into the promised land. So it's not a lot of narrative there. It's going to be a lot more. These are the themes of the specific speeches that he's giving. And
can we all like split up?
Really great episode.
Give the speech. I would
sure.
Love to give
it's a beautiful book. It is one of the, I don't want to say one of my favorites again, but when you read the book of Deuteronomy,
7 years ago.
It's an incredible conclusion to the Pentateuch that Moses writes, and it's going to be a great episode.
Moses sings a song.
My greater meaning
from
this episode, and from the book of Numbers, is
Did you freeze?
I completely had a brain fart. I had a really good greater meaning, and
you can't just segue into that and then just stop.
My greater meaning is. Are you okay?
I'm speechless. My name's
you
Nathan.
see that episode of Family Guy?
Andrew.
Peter goes. And he actually got a stroke and they just put him to the side.
Yeah, please tell everybody what your greater meaning is. Let's cap this off.
No, we're going to cap
the greater meaning on numbers.
The greater meaning on numbers is one of the things I love the most is just the idea of how God allows he's allowing the people to mature in a certain point. At one point,
I just think it's comical. Just trying to find a way to describe numbers. It's like,
a lot of
I know we're all just improvising on the spot right now. Like, just
no, I did think about this. I love how God is allowing his people, now that they've grown, new generation has rose up. You can see how he's using them. He doesn't just speak to one person anymore. He goes through Eliezer is playing a more important role. Every time something happens, he wants them there. Joshua is appointed to be a leader. Moses, you can see, like I said earlier, he's speaking more and giving judgments. It's not God speaking every single time. And I think that there's growth there, and God is setting up his children to be able to take on this responsibility, this maturity of embarking on this conquest that he's given them to take on the land. They're finally to the point that's ready, and God has gotten them there. And I'm really excited to continue on to the next part of the story. That is my greater meaning. Josh?
My greater meaning with the book of Numbers is the fact that it's even really called Numbers. Yes, there's census here and there, and God is kind of taking account partially for the men going to fight the wars for the Lord and conquer these other nations and defeat them and take their land. The other interesting part of the whole book of Numbers is all the stories that are in Numbers that you just don't expect. Like, you don't expect to see these stories in there, like Balaam. That was just like a curveball. Like, really, honestly, it did not have much to do with censuses. I feel like the whole time, but the whole time, like even in the Exodus and Deuteronomy, I understand that this book is mainly focused. To be honest, I don't even know what it was really mainly focused on. I think they just slapped numbers on it and they said, this is what we're going to call it, because there's a couple numbers in here and there's a couple examples of how many people are fighting.
Josh, if you ain't got one, it's okay to say you don't have one. You can't say, I don't even know what we talked about.
I know what we talked about. It's just,
remember that the Pentateuch originally was written as one big volume,
I know,
and it was a continuation, and we separated, so there was like
we separated. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like we gave it the name Numbers.
And these are the numbers of the tribe of Israel. That's why it's called Numbers, because that was like the phrase that indicated the next section.
Yeah, but the whole book isn't about the numbers of Israel. That's
a lot of numbers. If you really read it, there's a lot of numbered things.
Yeah, and there's a lot of rules too, which has nothing to do with numbers. The inheritance thing really has not much to do about a census and numbers. It can tie into it.
Thank you for your greater meaning. Nathan, what was your greater meaning?
All right. I'm going to actually, because I
don't know what we're talking about.
I'm going to actually bring something. So we're nearing this is the fourth book. Which book is this?
This is the fourth book of the Bible.
So we're nearing the fifth, because there's 5 first books. There's a point I'm making there, right? The first 5 books of the Bible, the way I kind of like to look at them, is like kind of a microcosm of our personal relationships with God, right? That's kind of the way I look at it. Like Genesis would essentially be the meeting point of like man realizes, or you've realized that there is a God out there, right? That there is a greater explanation of everything. And then once we get into the stories of Abraham and all that, it's just kind of further establishing that you know that there is a God out there. And then when the Moses story comes into effect, I like to look at it like that's the story of how God calls you to him, right? And you go to that meeting point to meet God where he is at, and he calls you, gives you a calling, gives you a mandate, gives you a purpose in life. And then we get to Exodus, where now you're trying to fulfill that mandate and you're full of fire, and God is doing some miraculous things in your life, like removing some chains or some generational curses that you might have had upon you to free you to now pursue the kingdom of heaven. And I look at Numbers as like a thing that it's now you have to take inventory of where your life is at and the things that you have in your life, where you got to take inventory of your life and see, does this please the Lord that I do this? Does this not please the Lord? You have to be organized. And then the conclusion of that is now you're stepping into your calling and you're doing that, which will be the next book where Israel actually goes into their promised land. It's like you're stepping into your calling before the Lord. These first 5 books, they are describing the kingdom of Israel, but they're actually also describing very similar you, like who you are as a soul before the Lord. And I think about that every time I read the first few books of the Bible. And yeah, there's allegories to Christ, and yeah, there's there's different things, promises, and you could kind of foreshadowings of the Messiah. But I always like to take it at a personal note. Whenever I reread what we're going to do today, I read ahead of what we're going to be going into next time, and I reread some things we did in the past. It always brings me back to, how does this talk to me personally? What is this greater meaning to me? The book of Numbers, to me, really makes me focus on and make me take an inventory on the things that I have in my life. I take a look at all the things that I have organized in my life and what's important for me and what is pleasing to the Lord and what is not pleasing to the Lord. What are the things I do that I only do it because I'm selfish? Maybe the Lord doesn't like that, and I need to remove that. I need to listen to the Lord's instructions to know what not to do. And I mean, I know that's kind of a broad generalization, but that's the way I kind of look at these first 5 books, and that's the greater meaning to me for the book of Numbers.
That is how he looks at the first 5 books of the 4 books that we went over so far.
The first 5 books of the Bible. I already said what the 5th book is.
I know, I'm just playing.
So
and there you have it, everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
That
if
was
you want
the
to know
book of
more
Numbers.
about where the 10 tribes ended up, honestly, look into it. That's a really cool thing to look into. Where the 10 tribes ended up.
We'll probably cover it on a roundtable episode. That'd be a good question to bring up.
Nobody even knows what a roundtable episode is because we didn't release it on any streaming except for YouTube.
By the time this episode would have came out, it would have been released. Thank you, Nathan, for bringing that up. This is ahead in the future. But follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, follow us on YouTube, and you can listen anywhere on Spotify, Apple. If you like what you hear and you want to support us, please give us a 5-star review, like, subscribe, share us with your friends, give us a comment. And if you have any greater meanings on the episode or have any questions or maybe something we missed, email us at greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. That's greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, everybody.
Goodbye.
Sayonara.
Shalom.
This is Josh signing off with the Greater Meaning Podcast. Be blessed.
Thank